congrats, of course, to the winning team of the Slam, if you all didn't see it. And also congrats to our second place finisher at the Slam, which was Brian F's team, which will also be attending EVO. Very cool. I'm definitely tired from working on everything, but I wanted to boot up today and chat about it and talk about it. I think it was a great tournament. It was our first time doing a lot of new things actually for this Slam. We had 8 teams instead of 6, and I think 8 teams was really fun. The only downside I think to 8 teams is that expanding to 8 teams meant our round robin was 7 rounds, and I think that was pretty tough on some people. The only people that really yapped a lot about the round robin was people who don't play like TFT or Marvel Rivals. People who play those games were like, yeah, I was kind of locked in. It was pretty light work. I think potentially there's an argument to separate the round robin days a little bit so that you have a little bit more rest time. But I think 8 teams is correct. If you only have 6 teams instead, there's a team that has a bye, and then the other teams play into them. After the first round, you play the second round, and then somebody loses and they go right back down here. So like you can win your first round, lose your second round, and then lose here and get last place. It feels a little weird to like win round 1 and get last. 8 teams is a little cleaner for that. 8 teams is also more fun because it lets you include more people. So like we had 32 total players this time, which, speaking of, as someone who's watching this event and running this event, I think that having the first tier be brand new players and having the second and third and fourth tier players be like people who are a little bit more experienced is the ideal viewing experience. There was a lot of people who were really upset and basically said that the level of play has gotten too high and that like the first 2 tiers should be new players, but balancing 2 tiers of new players is, first of all, pretty hard. And I think the first tier being new players is really fun because it's such a noticeable jump when you see all of them improve from their first time playing until Sunday. And then once you jump up to tier 2 and tier 3 and tier 4, you can see the jumps more clearly between each level of play, right? Which I think is really cool. You know, I cannot tell you how often I like read feedback and I'm like, this person has not watched a minute of the event. They'll be like, I hate that all the players do this or do that or do this. And I'm like reading it, I'm like, none of this is even real. Like, I don't even know what they're talking about. There was basically a thread on Reddit that had a lot of yapping about it before the Slam began, and it was like a person who didn't like the event and wanted to flame it, and then some people weighed in, and a lot of the feedback was things that I read and I thought to myself, let me keep this feedback like in my mind during the Slam, and I disagree with like literally everything I read in that thread after the finals yesterday. I think in general having more players feels really good, and I think the split between returning and new players feels right to me. I don't think I can be convinced that having mostly new players is correct. I think half and half or close to it feels right to me. And I'll tell you why. There's a couple of reasons. The first complaint I saw was that there was too many returning players, right? And then the second complaint I saw was that some of the people who signed up for the event didn't play enough for somebody's liking. Now, listen, when someone signs up for the event and they say they're down and they commit to all the dates and they're like super happy to be here, I assume that they're gonna like play, you know, similarly to the other players in their tiers. And for the most part, you see like most people play like a pretty normal amount, and then they all get into it and they all grind, and it's a lot of fun and everybody's engaging with the game. And it's happened in each Slam. The people who don't play in a lot of games are always people who are new, not new in skill, but new to the event, right? And part of re-inviting people to the Slam is not only because their skill level is higher, so that's fun to watch, but it's people who participated in the event before, and the effort they put in, the energy they bring to the event, the vibes they bring to the event. They're a pleasure to be there. They're fun to watch. They make for cool moments. It's cool to watch their improvement, right? Like, you include them in the event because you enjoyed their participation before. And when you invite new people to the event, you can't know if someone is going to like say, yeah, I can't wait to compete. I'm so happy to be here. I'm super excited. And then don't play the game at all. And people blame me. They're like, how come you invited someone to the event who didn't play enough games for that person's liking? Nobody didn't compete in the event to the rules that they're required to. They showed up and played in all the times they were supposed to play. But getting them to play more than that, I sent messages 7 days in a row. Hey, please meet with your coach. Please do this. I've reached out to people in multiple slams to be like, hey, please do more coaching. Please log into the game. Please play. There's only so much you can do if someone signs up and chooses not to play. There's not much to be done there as an event organizer. It's sort of just an unfortunate reality that can occur. And that's part of why I like inviting people back that I know will play. I think all the returning players are really awesome, and I think they set the right energy and vibe. As a good example, like Raditz. Raditz played like over a year ago in the Tekken Slam. So he hasn't played in a Slam in like a year. We invited him back like instantly, basically, when we saw he signed up, because part of the reason that Tekken Slam was so fun is that he hosted lobbies like every night. He brought like a super good energy to the event and everybody really liked him. Someone who's gonna get people to game, get people to hang out. Like he's like a perfect choice, right? You could put some new player here who's never participated in a slam and they may be awesome. But we know that he's going to show up and have a great time. Raditz hasn't played in over a year. Super hasn't played in over a year. Toast hasn't played since the very first Tekken Slam, so it's been like a year and a half. Lily didn't play in the last 2 slams or something like that. Like she didn't play in the one that sent everybody to Japan. Slime hasn't played in forever. Fumi couldn't make it to the last slam. Emily Wang and I'm a Cutie Pie have not played in like over a year. So even then our returning players were like a lot of people who, like half of them almost, were people who haven't played in like a year. Having new players is also great because you want to watch them. Particularly like it's nice to watch new players fill in the early tiers, but it's also nice to watch new players like come in at high tiers here. Like Jet was really fun to watch at the top seeds, right? Like Beckmon, Feisty, like they're all brand new and they got to fill in the top seeds. Even in the middle here, like there's plenty of players that were new that we got to invite. That was really cool. When you invite new players, you never know what they are going to bring to the slam. Some of them are really awesome. Some of them had more other commitments or time or whatever and they couldn't play very much, so it kind of was unfortunate for that. Some of them said like, I don't care about this game, I'm not going to play. And like when you sign up for the event and say you're down to play, commits to every date, says awesome, I'll be there, and then doesn't want to play after, their team gets shafted from it. But like, you know, there's not much we can do. You just sort of shrug your shoulders and be like, well, that's a shame. And then you just don't invite them back. When people sign up, on the right column, there's a yes or no. And if I click yes, it spits them into the next form, which is our list of final candidates. So I just see their name and instantly go to the right and click N. I don't even read what they write because I don't trust them because they already didn't participate the first time. So I'm like, yep. Listen, I'm not here to flame anybody who didn't want to play a lot of Street Fighter. And I don't think you guys should all do it either. But this is, again, when you are like, why don't you have X amount of new players? I will say, part of inviting returning players is you know what to expect, right? Unfortunately, some of the people we are like pretty excited to have couldn't make it. And then we asked someone new. And then the person we asked who was new, like, then didn't play and we were like, oh dang it. Yeah, also you say streamers are so unprofessional and yada yada etc, but like the vast majority of the people in the event, 98% of the people in the event showed up and did a great job and did what they were expected of. I think that's a pretty good ratio. That's like probably more than are at your workplace right now. How would you say in your workplace right now that 98% of the people there are doing their job? Yeah, all of you are typing in my chat right now and you're at work probably. So who's really, you know, I will not be mad at anybody who like shows up, tries and doesn't do that well in the bracket. Like that to me is as good as someone who tried really hard and won every match. Like you are worth the same amount to me in my mind. If you show up and you try and you have fun and like you enjoy the event and like you engage in what the event's trying to do, then you're awesome to me. That makes you a cool candidate and a good person to have participate. There was a lot of people who are mad that our high tiers got so good, but I think the high tier in the tournament was so fun to watch. And I think despite everybody being worried that like Feisty or Beckmon, for example, were going to be like juggernauts that were unbeatable, undefeatable, I think that tier was like really fun to watch. And like, yeah, Void Beckmon, oh man. You know, Void lost to Beckmon and it's lazy Matman's fault. Void dropped his level 3 combo. Fine. He was still in an okay spot after dropping it. But lazy Matman typed in chat, mental boom GG's. And Void read his comment during the match. And then that made him angry, mental boom GG's, and then he sunk the team. And lazy Matman knows it's his fault because he's right there in chat typing caught emoji. And then I asked later on, I was like, wait, Void and Super, and then I was like, did lazy Matman sabotage your team? And they're like, yes, mental boom GG's. Yeah, Void was like a pixel away from beating Beckmon. And even in Boxbox's case, he was really struggling to beat Jet basically the whole slam, and he locked in and beat him in the loser semis. Actually, in fact, back to back kind of, right? Like, Dododoya beat Japanese Curry, who Japanese Curry was a freak. He kind of did what Coney did in one slam where he sort of unprecedentedly climbed. He was 1400 MR before the event started and climbed to 1700. That's not normally. But Dododoya beat him, and then Boxbox beat Jet for the first time back to back, which was very cool. Always fun to watch, right? And Dododoya's like record during the round robin was not as good as his performance on Sunday. He definitely improved a ton. But yeah, I mean, usually we have like a pretty good understanding of like where the power level of most of the people in the team are. There are exceptions, like sometimes you think somebody is going to end up playing really, really well and then they like don't play as much, or like they swap characters, or you know, stuff happens, but we generally have like a pretty good idea. It's why I try to like play and watch everybody before the slam starts, so I get like a sense. Sometimes somebody just ends up being a freak in a good way or a bad way. You're like, what the heck? Like, I mean, Scooch for Riddles' team, I sort of had no expectations about how he would do. Like, when I watched him play, I thought he had some promise, but he went sicko mode in the second round robin and then in the finals day. And then, yeah, Raditz was a beast in his tier. Absolutely. I mean, that's another thing that's interesting, right? Is like in this tier, the highest ranked person was like Slime, Scara, and Sykkuno. And Sykkuno had a master character and then like 2 characters who were around Diamond. And his record was not that good in the round robins. And Slime's record, he lost like all the JPs, and he lost the Lily Pichu, and he lost the Mogu. Like, even though he was master, he lost to a lot of people. I think people are like a little too focused on the rank sometimes, especially on these levels. It's not as impactful because so much of the game is unknown to you. You can make it to master and have never fought a Manon or a Lily or a JP in your life. Yeah, Mogu was plat 3 on Ed. And like, look at her record in the round robin. She went 8 and 6. She had one of the positive records in her tier. There's like 4 people that were positive. She was like plat 3 or something, but she just doesn't play a lot of ranked. Slime is negative. He's master. Sykkuno is 3 and 11. He's master on a character also. I expected that Nephew would be the second strongest coach, which, you know, his record is tied for second, but Riddles played amazing. And Just a Kid's record is pretty surprising given that he is, I think on paper with results right now, the second strongest coach. Some people were mad that like Brian was a coach because he wasn't good enough, or some people were mad because they were like, we should just get rid of every other coach and then make them Brian's level. And then somebody was like, you should just make Brian a top seed in the bracket instead of being a coach. And I was like, dude, are you guys on drugs? Yeah, like he beat Punk. Like, who do you want to be the other people? Like, you know, almost every suggestion you read, you can tell one of 2 things. The person didn't think, or they've never watched the event. So the suggestion just doesn't make any sense. Part of what makes Brian's team so good is that he is such a great coach that he doesn't need to play the game. This is the second time that's a team that has been top 2 in the slam. The coach's record was not very strong, but their team itself was very, very good because of the coach's hard work. Would I ever do a small showcase tourney and let the coaches draft? My opinion is that if you let the coaches draft, the teams end up being really imbalanced a lot of times because people will just, they're not necessarily going to be educated about who the best player is in each tier, etc. If I went to Shine and I was like, yo, pick a player. Do you think he knows like the relative skill level of every single person on the second seed or the first seed or the third seed or the fourth seed? Like, he probably knows like 10 of the people. Or like, you know, if I ask Chris, I'm like, all right, pick this. He'd be like, I don't know who the fuck these people are. You could have a doc started playing main, peak rank, current rank. Okay, so instead of us trying to balance the teams based on my understanding of all of the players and then my understanding of their potential to grow and then who they want to be on the same team with or don't want to be on the same team with and which coaches they want to be with and which coaches want to be with them. You want me to do the homework and then instead of thinking about it, the coach can just look at a sheet that says rank or character and then just pick a random person. So it's like you're doing what I'm doing, but like worse. A draft is fun because it's like, it's exciting. And like, I think the draft itself is like it's like drama filled and interesting and cool. But like, yeah, the actual team balance I think is worse because of it. And in fact, in like most slams, I ignore people who are like, yo, please put me with this specific person. Please put me with my friend. I need to be with my friend. Sometimes I will ignore that because I think that most people will have more fun with a team that is well balanced and has a chance to play the game rather than a team that is very weak and it's just your homies, right? That is like not the ideal goal. So like, I feel like what I've learned over the last 3 or 4 slams is that my gut feeling on that is correct, and I should split up people more to make sure that their teams end up being better. Yeah, the proof is in the pudding. And also, part of the fun of these events is meeting new people. Make round robin 1 and 2 1 week apart. Okay, so let me break down to you why it's not that way. So if you look at the calendar, the event starts on the 16th, right? Round robin 1 can't really happen very early because you don't assign teams until the 19th. Like, imagine if I put the team together and then the next day was round robin 1. You have no time to work with your coach or your team, basically, before the first round robin. You instantly play without a lot of time to work with them. By making it Wednesday, right, the 25th or whatever, you have essentially 1 week. There's maybe some merit now that the round robin is longer to do like the first round robin like Monday or Tuesday and then the second round robin like Friday or something to like split them up a little bit more so that it's not Wednesday one day down Friday. Like maybe it's better to have some space. But I don't think it's necessary. I just think that it's like an idea. But I think how it is right now is perfectly fine. Double lift win. Listen, you cannot suggest a streamer to me. Your streamer needs to fill out my form. Until they fill out the form to sign up for the event, they're not a real human, and I don't consider them. Would I ever randomize the order for which skill a player plays? We talked about that, actually. What if, when the match started, you randomized which seed went first? So, like, you could start at 3rd seed and then go 4th, 5th, 1, 2, or something, right? The problem with that, I think, for our format is that the coach is also the 5th player. We enjoy the coach being the player. For the slam, I think it's like an integral part of like how the experience is. And yeah, I don't know. I think if like, what if the new players were anchors? I think that they would be like, oh God. And I think that watching the progressions of skills is fun. And the coaches match being the deciding factor, to me, feels correct. If I was going to do a slam for other games, which would I do? I mean, it's probably like pretty clear, but I think whenever Marvel Tokon comes out, everybody has really high interest for that game, so we'll probably do something. And 2xKO, the duo format is so enticing. There's 2 event ideas that I have for 2xKO that I think would be fun. The first is I want to run a fighting game event, like not streamer event. And I really want to do one versus game player who's very good, and then one player who plays other fighting games that is not a versus game player, really, paired together. That's the first format I really want to try, because I think that would be really fun. And then, yeah, we also obviously want to do like streamers with one coach. I think those 2 games are like the 2 largest games, but we could run stuff for anything if people are interested. I think we did a good job with this event. I'm very happy with a lot of the things about it. Me and Emily really wanted to do 8 teams, and I think that the expansion to 8 teams was like really smooth and it felt really natural. And also this event did really well. Like I think for all of our slams, this was one of the most viewed slam. Maybe it was the most viewed slam, to be honest with you. This had like the most interest, the most viewership, I think, basically for any slam that we've done so far, which is pretty funny because it's the only slam to have a thread on Reddit beforehand that's like, this Sajam slam shit sucks. Yeah, I am a California native. I'm born and raised in Southern California. I'm not a transplant, which is why I'm one of the only happy streamers who lives here. The rest of them, you know, they move here thinking it's gonna be something, and they don't go outside. That's another problem. You got to go outside. There's a modern only tournament this Sunday. Yeah, they asked me about that shit. I'm fried, brother. You think I'm gonna fucking learn modern this week after the slam? I'm trying to not do anything, bro, and I gotta do so much. Listen. No, Lily played awesome though. I mean, I'm sure she's upset that she didn't win, but her improvement was like insane. I think she should get off that bum ass character and play a real character. I'll say it. Yeah, maybe she should change her name in real life to Jury. Thoughts?